Thank you very much for this presentation. Glad to be with you today. Oops, I have to go back. So our topic, leading teams to develop complex products, thanks to the invitation of Valley Space. As was presented before, today I'm going to talk about my experience and what were the pain points and the success factors of what I've done. So far, studied engineering here in Lisbon. After, went to Paris for a second course, also IT related. And then my dream was to work for I love cars, for the automotive industry, and I also like cultures, but not like visiting the country for 2-3 days. I like to really understand and be together with the people in the countries. And what I did, so this shows my career, went to pick 2 suitcases, one-way ticket, went to work for Volkswagen. I thought I was going to stay there for 2 years, but now it's my 30th year now. And it has been an incredible journey along several countries, stations of 3-4 years, leading not only engineering teams, but also product management, quality, most technical issues. In Brazil, where I could speak my mother language, built the plant of Audi in South America, in the engineering team. Then in Mexico, technical project leader for also some Volkswagen products. Then came back to Europe again as head of quality chassis. Then I have some roots in India, my mother also, born in India. I decided when I have the chance of Volkswagen and Skoda opening a plant in India, we moved to India and I made the ramp up of the plant, putting from scratch, where cows were eating on the ground, from a full-scale plant working when I left. And later, many years in Volkswagen in Wolfsburg, responsible for the whole group, the 12 brands, responsible for standards. E/E, that means R&D, electronics especially. Also made the strategy Transform 2025 Plus. And my last stage, I think there was something was missing still in my career, was China. And I think I said, if I don't give the chance, not only to me, also to my kids, to go to school in China and discover how these people think, there is something going to be missing. So I decided, I went as a CTO for the innovative charging solution company in Shanghai. And I just came a few weeks back from Shanghai. It was an amazing experience. But also, the products are now out. So I have a very small film to show you the products that we just put on the road. You're going to see them very soon in the stations of Aral and BP, 12 countries in Europe, but also all across China. You can put the music a bit louder. So this project, of course, serves not only Volkswagen or the Volkswagen family, it serves all the automotive industry. And it was done in China. The development was done in China, together in collaboration with Volkswagen. So what I thought, I think the challenge here and the most important thing was to how do you use the strengths of a big multinational with the speed and the other strengths of a small startup and build a startup in China. So we had a 50-50 joint venture with a Chinese high-tech company for hardware and software called DuPower and made this happen. So when I talk about the complex products, I'm talking about my experience on the vehicles, most of my time, and lately the charging stations. What they have in common, they are highly connected. They are complex volume products. They need a full ecosystem. You see the cloud on the upper side. You have your screen for the user to control for, I don't know, maintenance, whatever. And you have the app for the customer. So the same in the car. And so with front-end, back-end, hardware, software. And we have to consider the regulations because we export worldwide. The car is 150 countries worldwide. And here our machines, at least 2 continents we have planned so far. And the questions here today, I don't bring all the answers here. I noticed that we have a lot of pain points which are common between many of you that I've talked today. And at the end of the day, we want to move with speed, commonly manage this increasing complexity, fulfill a lot, extremely many requirements, be able to put them on paper and on system, increase the quality and make the strategical changes, improve our product and process, but all in a context where everything might change, a very high uncertainty around. We never thought about COVID, no? It was a game changer. Now I'm happy that it happened, but yeah. So what we have to do, we are always asking ourselves. So we've seen along the time, from Taylor to Henry Ford in the automotive industry with agility. Then came the Deming's theories with the Japanese miracle. Then later Toyota with Lean and Kanban. Now a lot of agile working, first from the software side, or for most E/E, so products. And it's a very high dynamic framework. But what comes next? No? What is coming? The speed is going more and more. If we count from today to the future, the slowest moment that you have is today. Yeah? So we can be quiet because it's really a cool moment right now if we think about what will happen to us in the future. So today, I divided in 5 points, and I have one chart for each of them. So talk the strategy, what you have to do, or some such new technologies, some smart features for the customer, then some top-notch processes. When I say process, I mean PMT, process methods and tools. Don't forget the tool. And the most important one, I think there is something moving there. The most important, the human factor, that is here at last, but for sure the most important of all of them. So number 1, the strategy. So I've been also accompanying some smaller companies or startups on guiding and giving some advice. And what I notice is the engineering team most of the time is not involved in the full strategy. And what helps immense is get the engineering team understand the whole picture, to understand what is the business, what is the purpose. And even if he's not responsible for or accountable for the whole picture, get him to be aware of this. It's never enough to communicate and exchange and getting input from the engineers. You have to be very wide awake and permanently adjust. You have to have a plan, and you have to be ready. Most important than that, to be ready to change and adjust your plan every time. The strategy has to be people-centered. No? Treat well your people, and then get the best ones. Start with the internal, then go to the external. But of course, all your stakeholders. And I think in the future, today and also in the future, the tasks that have to be done by the brain, we have to select which ones we need the brain to work. The rest, maybe the machine can do. So separate more. I think this will be a very important part. What is the part that the brain has to do, where you need the good people to make? The future will probably give us a lot more opportunities, like simulating your strategy. You probably don't need to make a mistake if you see the scenarios and the probability and the risk, and with some AI, ML simulation, probably you decide not to do. No? Very often some mistakes, no? You don't consider what happens in some scenarios where there is change, where there is competition, where some other aspects. Another maybe failure or mistake that you notice, you enter too early or too late. No? It's also for us and the company. Then the new technologies. No? Here, what you have to think about, according to my experience, always have the customer-centered, no? Design and function. The trend is becoming customer expects faster, more features immediately. The cycle's coming fast. Huh? Of course, the software being very flexible, but the hardware carrying the restriction. If you don't plan your hardware to be able to accommodate the functions of software in the very, very early phase, then you will not be probably able to update your product over the air later. So these are things that you have to plan, maybe some interfaces or some possibilities of expanding. I've put a picture there. I don't know if you see it's a solar panel, but on the right side, it's a tile, a roof of a house. No? The trends coming of integrating function into the feature of using the sustainable energy. One aspect that a lot are not considering or considering too late and will jeopardize the possibility to enter in the market. Safety, security, how many mistakes coming from safety, security because not sought from the beginning. Also maybe some laws and standards coming, companies not prepared for them. The legal aspects related to those. One thing that I really recommend, enter in the standardization or contribute to the standardization as early as you can. It's first a great network to get to know other players in the industry, but also to contribute. I believe in open source. No? I think the future will be now in the software. We are very, like somebody told about Linux. This as it's a success experience, but we need to do a lot more with the hardware as well, with the process as well. We have to be able, after we have done something good, to give to the community to improve and to allow. So this IP, the closing, no, it's only mine, is, I think has short short sight. And one thing, of course, you have to make the trade-off of cost and the benefits also here. In the future, we have the chance that we are coming, especially with the hardware, a big step with maybe 3D technology or some other smarter materials that will allow, for example, 3D, here's an example here, 3D with different colors, but also with different materials that normally would not be compatible together out of the same machine, or and then it's ready in one shot. So a crisis, as we have seen, it's a big opportunity to, I think humans, if you look in the history, have been moving more in the times of crisis. And I think we are coming into some crisis that will help us to discover the energy crisis, will make us very creative to discover ways to be in the business. So the biggest mistake I've seen is when an organization stops learning, does not go forward. No? The fear of failure, it's still big companies like ours. Oops, I have done some mistake here. Big companies like ours have traditionally more fear from mistakes. You have a lot to lose. No? You have 50 years building an image, and overnight can be destroyed. So a company that has just started, nobody knows, no? Can then move the name and go to another one, and then nobody notices. And it was a great learning for the team. The CEO and the CTO will get great jobs afterwards, because it's a nice to make mistakes. Guys, I don't take guys that never did mistakes. I heard in the last startup conference where I went to. So in the big companies, we have to make a trade-off very careful. And then, of course, the culture is also happily towards allowing a lot more mistakes. I talked about already the last point. So the next one, the features you have, I'm going to accelerate. I see the time going. You have to be able to, the customer will always want something new. With the trends show that you have to develop things that today you don't even know that you have to bring into the market. So permanently observing. Since engineering cost is high, you have to think on a large scale. So if you want to use the same basis engineering for the world, for a bigger market, you have to think global first, consider the requirements of all the customers, all the countries, and think about some kind of modularity, some scalability, so that you can then faster automatize, and so on. So customer will expect in the future, I think, a lot more individualization, and some technologies will allow. With the 3D, probably we'll have a lot more. The processes, I said, it's also including the tool. I put on the right side a lot of processes we at the big companies have. When we enter a lot, you get all the books with all this, the safe and the agile, whatever, and the systems engineering, a lot of all of the interesting. I never found my dream systems engineering tool yet. Probably it will come, or I have to be there to invent, but everyone has missed something that every single one was not fulfilling all the. Nevertheless, sometimes I had to choose. Now in China, I had to choose one. I picked one ALM tool, and I used it as a PLM tool. And it was, since the software was an important part for it, and the hardware came along, I took it. Because, for example, they had the best, some of the sub-processes were the best that I could find in the industry. So processes. Processes are not a self, we don't need process for itself. It always is a servant for the others. So it has to be a facilitator, not a burden. I'm going to jump a little bit. Huh? I really wish to find some tools that are intuitive, easy, that everybody accepts immediately from the minute zero. Full networked, automatized PMT, process method tool, including some chain of trust, because you need to get some data that sometimes are from outside or from maybe blockchain-based. I don't know what the future will give, but I think that we have some opportunities there if we think big. Something working more like this is a brain, something that is more close to a brain than today our systems are. So all the companies that I've seen, these small companies especially, they really, all of them lack process. Think process only at the end. When the auditor is coming, oh, we need to show some process. Very fast, they try to do the documents very backwards and start following too late. Don't think process from the beginning, because if you repeat, then it's a big problem, because you cannot use or your people have changed, then it's quite difficult to get to work. Now, according to me, the most important, no doubt, most important factor, leading means care about your people. We notice when your leader cares about, it's a big difference. Of course, training, development, I called it the 4 E's, the culture of empowerment, engagement, efficiency, and enjoyment. Celebrate when something goes well. And one, I think, very important point, let go. When you develop your guys, be prepared, let them go. Because think about a company like mine, 660,000, I have allies everywhere. They change, they develop, and they probably stay within one of the brand of the company, and even if not, can always drink a beer and get to know some exchange, some new insights, and learn for yourself. So you have allies. Don't keep your people small that they have to be under you all the time. So hire by attitude. It's the criteria number 1 that I choose my people. I like to have a diverse team, people from different backgrounds, not thinking about, because thinking like me, it's already me there. Right? So probably we need a portfolio of people with new ideas, but all of them have to be able to say no. They have to be able to be adaptable, be able to work in a team, be tolerant, able to listen, have a certain resilience, and so on. So about what I've experienced working for Volkswagen, it was impossible 30 years ago to work for Volkswagen not speaking German. So you had no career, no chance. So nowadays, with English, you can survive. And I think in the future, I've seen now in China, my people were participating in the discussions with the German, and the translation is coming directly. So I think in the future, we'll be able to talk any language, any dialect with each other. Language will be not important. So any language, I believe, will be a trend already living. The points that I put it above the line are the one that I already lived. Also did lately, I did this battery MBA. I was learning. And we were working on the same document, 3 people in 3 different continents. And I was seeing the guys writing what they wrote, and I was writing. It's incredible what is possible nowadays. Unthinkable in the past. So the move from working from the office, then to from home, and now from anywhere. And this brings big potential. You can get the best guy ever for a certain task. So if you have the whole architecture and you have the full strategy, the last part, it's easy. No? You have a lot more buffer. You don't have to restrict the ones that live in Wolfsburg, in nearby, or want to move their children to the schools of a certain small city. So this means also, no? I think in the future there is going to be a shift of the needed skills of people. Will work a lot more by task. Probably we don't need to employ, the people don't need to be our people. We can employ by task or get tasks done. We will see the ratings will be public to everybody who is good or not. It's like the app with the stars and so on. And so, as we said, the best manpower for the task. People today, so the team is not a sum of the best players, does not make a team. To be able to get a culture where they enjoy being there. How much mistakes we do with these small points, I think it's incredible. A loss of human capital makes a lot of difference. So we talked about these 5 points, but how many more points and how many more dimensions we have to consider. I am aware we have to be simple and humble to accept that we still don't know everything. And no exception for me. So as a conclusion, I say the successful leadership is a result of learning process, quite hard sometimes, that requires resiliency, discipline, and also some failure. Leading is a way, not a destination, and you should enjoy any time what you do. There is probably the bad news, probably no common recipe, what you have to do. Be prepared to change, to move, and to finding the best way for your team to make a better world. And that's why, as in green, I put as a win-win, let's create some valuable ideas together with Valley Space, and I think I'm very thankful about this discussion already. If the meeting has been ending last night, it was already worse coming, because it was so interesting to talk to people that I met. I already learned a lot alone from being here. So I think let's create some valuable ideas, and that's why coming to the end, I'm very much waiting for also these further discussions with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isabel. That was very cool. I'm going to start off just these questions with a slightly selfish one, just for my own curiosity. You showed us a video here with a near-futuristic vision of a city pumped full of electric charging stations. Because you're so close to this industry, how long do you think we are until this becomes a reality?
So the product that is shown, I got the certification 2 months ago. So it's done. It's delivered. I have the contract with BP signed, and they already started installing the machines in Europe. 12 countries. Germany is a bit too late because of the incentive that the government gives a bit later, the politicians, as always. But some countries in the north were first and already. And before that, we have implemented in China. In China, it's already reality. If you go to the shopping or in the streets of Shanghai, I had the app with me to charge my car. In Shanghai and Suzhou, so this charging station is one with the batteries. It's like a power pack. So when you have an event like today, you can bring 30 or 40 machines and put it here. You just need the plug. So the other day, you take them out. So
when you were testing your own thing, did you find any issues whilst you were using the app, or?
Issues. A lot of issues, don't tell me. And my people were scared about, no? So we had a list of 90 bugs. No? My guys were scared. No? And I was very quiet. I said, yes, should I sell from the automotive industry, should I show you the list of bugs? We have, for example, software, 15 million lines of code in one machine like this, 15 ECUs in this charging station. But the Passat, no? The Passat has 100 million lines of code. So it is only 15% of, so you have to be cool. But you have to take into account the regulations, the standards, cybersecurity standards, the functional safety standards, the certification CE or CQC for China, or whatever it is. You have to do it the same way as you do for the cars. So that's why it's considered a complex product.
But this is something that's also interesting in the fact that you're existing within a space that I guess is regulated by governments and things like the EU that are constantly updating these regulations, and I wonder if this is a nightmare to keep up with, or do you plan ahead and you're designing these things with the need for flexibility from a regulation perspective?
What we do, and I think it's, I advise everybody to do, is like I told before, send the people, maybe not in the startup people, but the people from the group Volkswagen. I had the job before. For example, I wrote together with the team of the ISO and SAE, the new standard for cybersecurity for automotive, got ready last year. But while you can put your ideas, so you know later what your products have to have. So in the early phase of your product, because you know, you can already consider these kind of things, because then there will not be many surprises. Because you need 4 years ahead, you need to know what are the requirements. If you start doing this too late, then you probably have to spend a lot of money and there's a lot of cows. You will have a lot of cows, always, but keep the cows for the disruptive ideas or not for the things that you could have known before. Because you need a certain capacity for the mistakes. You need for the new customer needs, the new regulation. They will come anyway, the changes will come. So you have to keep the capacity free to be able, but don't make the mistakes. I always complain, hey, guys from marketing, how long you knew that, and now you come and say, you knew that all along. So put it in the early phase, speak now, and I asked them 4 years before, imagine the future and try to make it.
It's interesting because chaos as a term and an idea and something to embrace is something that many of us who have spoken here have talked about, and clearly it's a theme we need to learn to love. Any more questions from the audience?
Volkswagen is a huge company, and I'm sure that at some point they've tried to create their own system engineering tools. And do you have an opinion on, is it better to create the tools yourself, or is it better to buy them from someone else who will maintain them and let them, other users use them and polish them?
Thank you for the question. As a point of engineering, it doesn't matter. If you can get the best one, it doesn't matter. It's from outside, it's from inside. You do whatever you want. Get it ready on time that I can use it. It has to be easy to use. Now, from the point of view of the process and tool people, I also have been analyzing a lot of system engineering tool at Volkswagen. I never found the perfect one, so we decided to make it by module. So you have the development Z, start here on your side, start with the requirement management, we meet our tool, and then sometimes I had to mix 2 different or 3 different and a lot of different supplier of tools, and it's very important, the modularity and the possibility of the interface. That's why I'm always asking who allows the interface to be compatible, to be able to. I found one supplier, maybe 1 or 2, that are very close to having everything, but never found one. So we have to invent ourselves the full integrated, which is also not perfect, maybe. No? I'm very critical. It's quite close to perfect, but it's not.
Being a big company, you decided to partner up with basically a small, fast-moving technology company to come out with a product now. It's always been a challenge for big companies to stay ahead of the game, right? And to be innovative and be pushing the boundaries. Do you feel that's the right model to go? Is it like the partnering up with companies that have different ways of working so that you can achieve those results fast? Or do you see it more as a learning experience and hope that basically as a Volkswagen group, being the big group, you can re-implement that next time yourself with all the learnings that you had?
According to my experience, it has been impossible for Volkswagen alone to enter in new fields without cooperating, because the speed is a very important factor. We don't have all the know-how, but you have to define what are the content that you have to have in the company, what are the cooperations you do, and what are the tasks that you let do separate, which don't need brain. So you have to be able to, the full architecture plan, the full integration plan has to be in our hands to be able. But no doubt what you're saying, if we don't cooperate, if we don't do this job in China would not have been possible to do with Volkswagen alone. The speed that we have in China is incredible. The people, for example, who have a task and say, hey, when is it ready? It is a Friday. When can it be ready? I was waiting for the team to say, yeah, next month or in 2 months. The guy said, on Monday. So what? Yes, because tonight we're going to work, and then Saturday, we have the whole Saturday, the whole Sunday. And on Monday, you can see it. Is unthinkable. I know the people, I was always taking care about their quality of life. They did not even care about. I was thinking about, when do you see your kids? And I am the one asking these kind of things. No? They don't even understand, the speed is incredible. So all of us, I think we should not ignore what's happening in Asia, China, Korea. The speed is incredible. You see who makes the highest amount of patents worldwide now. That China has overcome all, where America has been here the biggest, is already, I think, last year passed by China. So it's coming very, very fast. So don't ignore them. And that's why we decided to understand a bit how they work and show that it's possible to do something.
Thanks very much, Isabel. Great talk. Thank you.